Welcome to a Midwest Minute with Matt. Simple concussion conversations that just make sense. Before we get started, just a quick note. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice and does not replace the evaluation or treatment from a qualified healthcare provider. Listening to this podcast does not establish a provider-patient relationship. Every brain injury is unique, and what we discuss may not directly apply to your situation. If you are experiencing symptoms or have concerns, please seek care from a licensed medical professional. If this is an emergency, call 911 or your local emergency services immediately. Hello and welcome to another episode of a Midwest Minute with Matt. Simple concussion conversations that just make sense. My name is Matt Campbell and I am the host, and today we have episode number 7. Pacing is not rest. One of the biggest misconceptions in concussion recovery is that people think pacing means doing nothing. So they either completely shut down their life or they continue to try to do things and present themselves as quote unquote normal to those people that are around them. Unfortunately, neither one of those extremes usually works very well. Today, we're going to talk about what pacing actually means and why recovery is often learning how to work with your brain and not against it. There are two extremes that people will generally fall into. After a concussion, you essentially have two major extremes that you'll go through. People will either sit around, not do anything, avoid everything, sit in a dark room, sit and wait to feel better because my normal activity doesn't make me feel good. Being around people, doing my normal routines makes me get symptomatic, so I'm just going to avoid everything. Or the opposite of that, they push through everything trying to appear quote unquote normal. They want to do things like normal because they want to get back to their normal lives. We see this a lot as somebody goes through that initial stage of concussion recovery into those longer term recoveries, is that I'm tired of dealing with this. I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to be normal. Those two extremes are major sources of frustration for a lot of people, partly because we're told, hey, do things that don't increase your symptoms. If there's anything that you want to do that makes your symptoms go up, we want to avoid it. The internet is full of, if you just sit and wait, concussions will get better. That's an outdated approach that's been long proven to actually delay concussion recovery, but it's so widely accepted by people that have no training in concussions. If I tell you to sit in a dark room and wait, the likelihood that you do anything to make things worse goes down. Well, when it comes to concussions, that avoiding of that stimulation or that those activities that make symptoms go up and down, that avoiding of those day-to-day routines will actually delay your recovery. So those patients that are sitting in that dark room not doing anything will struggle with healing, will struggle with recovering. On the flip side of that, pushing through things and trying to appear normal will increase symptoms. The more we increase our symptoms, the harder it is to recover and the longer recovery is going to take. Recovery often struggles at those extremes. Again, we sit in the dark room, we don't do anything. Now we're starting to feel better. We want to come back out. When we come back out, we start to do things like normal. Then we get symptomatic again. Now we go back into that cocoon. It's a vicious cycle. Cocoon, come out, get symptomatic, cocoon. And it's really hard for people that don't have any understanding or don't have any guidance to kind of navigate through that initial concussion recovery. Both extremes will be frustrating because how can I get symptomatic when I didn't do anything? I just laid here all day and I still feel like garbage. I got up and I went from the couch to the bedroom, from the bedroom to the bathroom, from the bathroom to the kitchen. I didn't do anything and I still feel terrible. How is that supposed to make somebody get better or make somebody positively affect their mental health when you're being told don't do anything, but yet I'm still symptomatic? Recovery will be difficult at both of those extremes. So why does that sitting in a dark room and just strictly resting stop working? I am here to tell you, rest is not the enemy either. For the first 48 hours, we want as much mental, physical, and emotional strict rest as we can get. The challenge with a lot of people when it comes to concussions is that first 48 hours, symptoms are still up and down. They may have not even heard the word concussion before. Nobody may have talked to them about it. They may not know what they're dealing with in those first 48 hours. So we sit here and say, hey, those first 48 hours are really important, but those first 48 hours, a lot of people are still trying to figure out what in the heck just happened. That rest matters in those first couple days, but eventually the brain and the nervous system will need stimulation. We need to start to get back into our normal routines. We need gradual progression back into day to day activities, watching changing symptoms, evaluating what's happening, grading what that tolerance looks like, and continuing to slowly build that tolerance through what we call controlled exposure. We want to wade into the water. We don't want to jump off the deep end. The goal is not zero symptoms forever. The goal is improving tolerance over time through pacing. So, what does pacing actually mean? Pacing means respecting what your current capacity for activity really is. It's adjusting your day to day routines to avoid overloading your system and adjusting what you're doing before the crash happens. If we can slowly integrate into activities over time, building that consistency in what we're doing and avoid symptoms spiking, that is the best thing that we can do for recovery because we're not hiding from our day to day life. We're not avoiding activities. We're not staying isolated, and we're not letting symptoms control our lives. One of my key phrases that I use a lot is symptoms are not the bad guy. Symptoms are feedback. When we look at symptom increases, that's telling us and telling our brain what we need to do or what we need to avoid during your concussion recovery. Symptoms fluctuating up and down are not the bad guy. Too many symptoms going up and down are the bad guy. Symptoms becoming too intense and overloading of those systems are the bad guy. But it's not the symptoms themselves that are the bad guy. So when we look at the idea behind pacing, pacing is not avoiding day to day life, avoiding activities. It's trying to slowly rebuild tolerance strategically over time. Everybody is going to have a different pace that you're going to move through. Your concussion recovery is your concussion recovery. You can't borrow somebody else's concussion recovery timeline. You have to respect what your brain needs. One of the frustrating parts of trying to establish pacing, especially early on, is if I give somebody 10 activities to do for the next 10 days, they might feel 10 different ways afterwards. That's why when I'm working with a patient, the more I can get you in tune with the symptoms that you're dealing with, the symptoms that you're navigating through on a regular basis, the easier it is to teach you how to go through pacing. So, why does pushing through things backfire? Well, when people ignore symptoms completely, our energy crashes, the nervous system becomes overloaded, and recovery becomes inconsistent. When recovery becomes inconsistent, when symptoms are fluctuating up and down, the more they go up, the more they come down, and you don't know why, that leads to the increase in fear. When we're afraid of an activity that we're doing because we don't know how we're going to feel, that fear increases our stress that we experience with our day to day life. As the fear grows, the crashes become more significant. When the crashes become more significant, we avoid the activity because I don't want to feel the way that I did the last time I did this. I know that if I go to the grocery store that we talked about on last episode, I'm going to feel terrible. I'm going to avoid going to the grocery store. That pushing through our symptoms, your nervous system learns safety through the consistency of not increasing symptoms, not chaos of varied activities day to day. We want consistency. We want balance in our recovery. A balanced recovery often includes gradual return to activities, taking breaks before we start to experience the symptom overload. We want structured routines. Day to day, we want to wake up at the same time. We want to go to bed at the same time. We want to establish a routine as best we can. Life does not stop after a concussion, especially for those adult patients that are trying to navigate through life and returning to work and being a parent and a spouse. Life doesn't stop after a concussion. When we look at trying to restructure somebody's day to day life, we may need to replace 8 to 10 hours of work because they're off of work during concussion recovery. We need to establish an easy to follow, structured day-to-day routine. The next part of a balanced recovery is simple movement. Movement is medicine. Getting you up, going for a walk, getting up and walking around the house, getting outside and standing on the sunshine, being on the porch. Simple, basic movements are the key to getting your central nervous system to stop being stressed and irritated. Early on, I know they may not make you feel the greatest. Going out and going for a half-mile walk might make you feel like your headaches go from a 4 to a 10. Going through and establishing a simple movement routine and taking breaks before symptoms start to go up can be key. When I start implementing pacing with people that I'm working with, one feedback that I get from my patients all the time is, I could do this before. Why would I go out and go for a walk for 3 minutes and then take a 2-minute break? I don't need to. It's just a walk. I'm just going out and walking around the neighborhood. It's not like I'm doing anything crazy. That's one of the hardest things for people to understand. Going out and walking for 3 minutes and standing for 2 will allow you to be able to walk for a longer period of time without getting symptomatic. Continually showing the body that I can handle 2 minutes, I can handle 3 minutes, I can handle 4 minutes, I can handle 5 minutes. The more we can build that gradual tolerance for activity, that gradual tolerance for movement, the more the central nervous system will relax and the fear will go down. The last 2 things that we want to do for a balanced recovery is we want to focus a lot of our time and attention on regulating sleep and managing the exposure to the things that we can't control. That's why work and life reintegration are the most difficult things that we do after a concussion, because I can control you, I can control your environment, I can control the people closest to you, but I can't control the random chaos that happens on a day-to-day basis. I can't control the people at work needing to talk to you immediately about a topic in a conversation that you need time to prepare for when you're healthy. I can't control the loud noise that happens at the gym, the yelling that happens in the classroom, the kids running through the room screaming. We can't control those things. And the more things that we can't control, balanced recovery looks challenging and makes it more difficult in the big picture. Recovery is about doing the right amount of things, not the maximum capacity that you can do on a regular basis. Pacing is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's not avoiding your life or avoiding activities forever. It's learning how to rebuild tolerance in a way that your brain and central nervous system can actually sustain. It's learning how to work with your brain, not against it. If this episode helped something click, share it with somebody who needs it. And if you're looking for guidance, support, clarity during your concussion recovery, learn more at mwconcussion.com. If you have a question about something or want something covered on a future episode of the podcast, or even want to be a guest on the podcast, feel free to DM me on any of our social media at mwconcussion, or shoot me an email at matt@mwconcussion.com.